Hello, everyone. I am Celina Noble,
I'm Charlese Williams.
and I currently work for Cumberland Counseling Centers as one of the therapists in the Smyrna office.
And I'm also a therapist in the Atlanta area.
And we're going to tackle the section today on mental health and the culture. So the title of our presentation is African American Mothers, A Glimpse into the Culture. And I just wanted to start out kind of with an excerpt from a devotional that I found, specifically geared towards women. And it says, "Have you ever heard someone say, 'So many things are happening in my life. I don't even have time to think.' Perhaps you've even said it to yourself. These words tend to trip off your lips when you've become sucked into all that's going on around you, overpowered by what's coming against you. Then, in the midst of an overwhelming frenzy, having lost your footing, you begin reacting instead of responding to your circumstances." Now, I know I've felt this way, and I've even said it, time and time again, and I know that this is probably the testimony of many mothers out there. So if I feel it, I know you guys are not alone. So why is mothering so hard? Well, more specifically for African American mothers, we have a very unique experience beyond the traditional, just day-to-day task of taking care of children. We are simultaneously battling just unhelpful internal messages that have been passed down from generation to generation, whether implicitly or explicitly. And so there are also very key external factors that tend to reinforce these negative thinking patterns as well. So just a few of the, what I call the macro level stressors. First is societal. And that's just the overarching just kind of pressure to become a mom. I can't tell you how many times I've had like young adults that probably are like in their upper 20s or lower 30s who haven't had children yet. And just the pressure that they get from their family or their parents or just their friends because everyone around them is having babies. There's also the pressure of, well, what do I do, if I have a child? Maternity leave is not very long, And there's the issue of being able to still bring in money and provide financially for your family. We all know that women tend to have less earning potential as men, even in the same particular fields. Mm-hmm. And also considering daycare expenses, which have just skyrocketed, over the last few years. And some mothers have the struggle, especially in African American families, because the median income for African American families is lower than any other race in the United States. And so what you have to consider is, do I go to work to pay daycare, or do I stay home and take care of my kids? Mm-hmm. And it tends to be a daily struggle for many moms in society. Then there's a spiritual aspect of it. Being a mom is just sacrificial all in itself. And then when you try to add the spiritual side of it, that is also a sacrificial part of your life. I don't know if you guys have ever heard the JOY acronym. It's Jesus, others, and then yourself. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of, in a way, reinforces mom putting herself last, Then there's the pressure of the Proverbs 31 woman, just all that entails. Really?
It's like the gold standard verse.
Yes.
Like, if you're not a Proverbs 31 woman, you're not doing it right, apparently.
Exactly. And when you read it, as a mom, I'm a single mom of 3, and when I read that and think of all the things that I have to do to measure up to that seems impossible at times. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and lastly, the macro level stressor is racial. The constant just thought process of, I'm raising my children in this type of world, and how can I protect them? How can I make them safe? How can I protect my character? How can I not come off as the angry Black woman? And just those things are constantly kind of going through our minds daily.
One second.
Uh-huh. Take it back.
And I want to reiterate, too, that especially with the mass shooting in Texas. Texas?
The recent one?
Yes.
Yeah.
This isn't to say that there is no acknowledgement of every mother's struggle about wondering whether or not her children are safe in this world. There's the added pressure and complexities when you're raising little black girls and little black boys in this world on top of what's already taken place in culture and society.
Absolutely.
That compounds and adds even more stressors and more struggles for the everyday African American mothers. But by all means, we acknowledge that each mother has a struggle that is related to protecting and keeping her children safe from harm. So just wanted to reiterate that.
Thank you. And so our next slide, it's just a diagram I want you guys to see of how the stressors in life show up in our body. And it goes from the brain to the skin to the muscles and joints, the heart, the stomach, the pancreas, the intestines, the reproductive system, and even your overall immune system. A lot of times when Black women show up with complaints that could be depression or anxiety, it shows up more somatically in your body.
Yeah.
And so it's harder to diagnose and harder to identify because we're just thinking it's just something going on in our bodies.
Yeah.
So what are some barriers to a fulfilling motherhood experience? Again, depression and anxiety going untreated. The most latest statistic says that only 1 in 3 Black adults with mental illness receive treatment. And that's not just mothers. However, this statistic is important because it still encompasses the family unit. There's a spouse or a grandparent or, a auntie, that comes around the kids. Like if they are dealing with depression or anxiety and it's untreated, it affects the whole family unit.
Most definitely. And what happens in this house stays in this house is
yeah.
a message that is taught, I would be willing to say, widespread across every household. There's this almost sense of betrayal if you go outside of your household and talk about what's going on in the family. And so, especially when we were in school and started going through family systems classes and things where you really start to kind of dig into what makes you you and what was painful and what was hurtful, we even had to kind of struggle and really process with each other what that meant to even be a counselor. So
I definitely remember that and how hard it was to get family history from my mom, my dad, my grandma, and all that. Nobody wanted to tell me anything.
Right.
So that's real. Also, close to 40% of Black mothers suffer from postpartum depression. There's cultural barriers, kind of like you were saying, things that reiterate the stigma to mental health because we don't talk about it. And 30% of Black and African American homes are led by females, which is huge because the Black population is only about 13% in the United States. And finally, the research into Black women and Black mothers dealing with mental health illnesses is just really lacking right now. So it's hard to kind of come up with ways to cope and ways to deal with these issues.
So kind of continuing our conversation, what does it even mean to be emotionally aware? We know we have the primary emotions, happy, sadness, anger, and that was what I was living with for all of my life until grad school, until you opened up this world and it's like, no, there are plenty of more emotions to experience and to express even. And so emotional awareness first starts with the ability to make sense and recognize your own emotions, which is a continuous journey. You don't ever arrive necessarily to that point. So it's not a perfect looking picture when it comes to expressing your emotions. Once you're able to start to tap into how it is that you're feeling, you can then also help others around you be more aware and cognizant of how they're experiencing their own emotions. We'll have our check-ins weekly, and I'll hear her sigh on the phone, or I'll know that she's going through something, and we make sure to check in, like, how are you feeling and how are you doing? And kind of we have each other to lean on, and we're also hopeful that anyone out there as well, if you don't already have someone to lean on, that you do start to develop that community aspect as well.
But I think that's super important as well because there's this thing in the Black family, especially with men, how they're taught to not express their emotions,
Right.
how they're taught to suck it up. You can't cry. You can't do this. And so if we're able to, as mothers, and one day soon to be mom, that, recognize our own emotional awareness, we're able to teach that to our children, and they're able to teach that to their children, and so on and so forth.
Breaking the generational cycles.
Absolutely. Yes.
Also, emotional awareness helps you to be able to solve problems in life as well. So there's plenty of theories out there that are dealing with emotions, but basically, a lot of times when we are reactive, we are reacting on emotional impulses and on a lot of times things that are going unsettled within ourselves. And it doesn't necessarily mean, this could be taboo, but I don't necessarily ascribe to negative and positive emotions. All emotions are welcome. The negativity comes in is when we are responding in behaviors that have consequences to us physically, emotionally, and mentally as well. So it is okay to feel what you feel and to understand where it's coming from. You just want to kind of try to find those positive outlets for expression. And lastly, people who are emotionally aware tend to access more joy and fulfillment. Doesn't mean that there is the expectation for you to always be happy or to always be excited and peaceful, but it does mean that when you can kind of ride the waves of those uncomfortable moments and expressions, you can release it. We had a moment where I went off the other day and I was able to express my anger around a safe community, and then we went on about our day, and it was a great moment. So.
You were good at that. And I was happy to provide that for you.
Yes, absolutely. So going into what about the pain that I feel, right? We're not at all ignoring the fact that pain is a real thing. There are some times where pain is inflicted upon us, and there are other times where pain is an indication that we need to set boundaries and learn to say no more often, which is, again, a journey, and you don't ever necessarily arrive, but you can continue to grow. Sometimes it just means that it's human to hurt, kind of like what we're sharing today, and you got to let yourself go through it. And if you're having trouble going through it, please do try to seek help from pastoral counsel, from mental health counselors, or even a trusted family member or friend. Pain and emotions will pass. There's no feeling that lasts forever. The wounds and the scars that we carry will always be there, but emotions do tend to come in waves, and they can be managed. There will come a time where you feel healed and empowered, and I would say we are reaching that point where we are growing into a season of healing and empowerment, and also navigating our painful experiences. So. I'm always the person that's like, how do I do this? Or how do you emotionally regulate yourself? How do you kind of come down from those intense experiences? You gotta apply the power of choice, knowing that you do have the choice to dictate how you will respond to a situation, how you will experience it. Hopefully you're seeing that we have a positive relationship not only with each other, but that is also a way to help yourself navigate your experiences, finding ways to have fun. In all of living, have much fun and laughter. Life is to be enjoyed and not just endured. We endure daily, right? Every day is a different struggle, but there is also enjoyment around the corner. Sometimes we just have to fix our focus in a particular area. We do that a lot. What's the positive of this moment? Or what are you grateful for? What are you happy about in these times? Letting go of painful emotions and regrets. When you accept that you are suffering, you stop running from the difficult emotions and turn to face them with strength and courage. May all of you be feeling strengthened and encouraged by this message to know that you can face your emotions and you can let go of the pain that it is causing. This is a huge one, seeking excellence and not perfection. The belief that if we live perfectly, look perfectly, and act perfectly, we can avoid the blame, judgment, and shame that results from that. And so perfection can seem as though it is a protector and seem as though it is a way to go through life and not experience pain, but ultimately we are creating standards for ourselves that are unrealistic, that in turn cause more pain. So it's okay to be excellent and to want to do the best, but knowing that we are never perfect, nor will we ever be, and we're growing daily. Ultimately, emotional regulations helps us to all become better at managing our negative emotions because they never go away. You're human. It'll always be a roller coaster and a ride, but you got this. You got this. Lastly, we're going to just talk about some of the messages that Black women may be either telling themselves or believing from society, from external measures, about what it means to seek professional care. Will I find someone who looks like me? You come see one of us. But no, seriously, there are plenty of counselors and therapists out there of all different types of backgrounds and racial cultures that are able and willing to assist you. It might, let's just be honest, take a little bit more digging.
Yes, because I think a myth is just because I'm a Black therapist, I can identify with every Black experience,
Yes.
and that's just not true. We can't speak for every unique experience.
And we're not speaking for every Black experience, simply our own and what we have witnessed.
Yes.
But it is a privilege and an honor to not only sit in the seat of a therapist, but to also have clients of color come in the office, and it's a beautiful exchange of even just us being in this room together. We are breaking stigmas and generational curses and bringing healing in such a small space, but actually it's so large and vast, and it transcends.
Yeah, and I think the resistance is down.
Yeah.
I think I've seen lately a lot of Black and brown women who are like, I've never been to counseling before. And to be able to see someone who looks like them, it kind of brings the resistance down.
Yeah.
It makes the therapeutic process a whole lot better.
Yeah. I've had bad experiences. Will this be any different? What would you say about that one?
Yeah, I definitely say I appreciate our training. I definitely appreciate that, and definitely validate their experience. Validate it, listen to them, and see what it is that they think would be most helpful for them, because we like to empower people to understand that they are their own expert.
Yeah.
I'll tell people all the time, you have been with you your whole life.
Yeah.
I just met you.
Yeah.
And so I need to understand, just your lens of life and how to conceptualize you. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then lastly, can I trust them to listen and believe me? If you are in a therapist's office and continuously feeling like you're not being heard and not being trusted in your experiences, that can definitely be a cause for concern. But ultimately, the heart that we have for people is to always listen and to always believe their perspective. And it is true for you. Who am I to tell you that what you experienced is wrong or false or is detrimental? Your life got you to this point, and our goal in the mental health community, especially with the African American culture, is to give you the space to be able to express that and know that you can go forward in whatever way that looks like for you. And then lastly, we do just have online resources that are available. Celina's going to share a little bit.
These are just some of the links you can click on. If you guys want the links, I would be happy to email them to you. Just reach out to us at Cumberland, and we're just glad that you guys listened to this entire video. Thank you. We are here as vessels, doing what we can to affect the culture and in a more effective way, to be able to give you guys that space to wrestle with the things that are internal and external struggles that you deal with constantly every day. So thank you.
Yes. Everybody have a great day. It was a pleasure being with you.